Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Old Big Jim coming at y'all from the bog. That's the Barlow Observation Group. Uh, Down here in wonderful South Mississippi. Man, it's just a wonderful day. It's 78 degrees and about 75% humidity. So let's just say it's sticky, okay? Uh, those of you that know, you know. All right, well, I got the old thinking machine going there last night, yesterday sometime, don't really remember. And uh, something hit me, and I started thinking about it. Actually, I watched a video by a gentleman named, his name is Jeremy Gertz. I believe he's from Canada. And he has a channel called Simple Little Life. But anyway, he's a bladesmith, a knife maker. But he also has two or three channels that he uh, does different things on. And one of them he did was a video very similar to what I'm doing here, but I thought that it had merit, and I wanted to bring it to the subject to y'all. Maybe get y'all's thoughts on it. I have my thoughts, and some of these have little asides to them that will I'll share with y'all, and it is what it is. But the term is EDC. Okay, everyday carry. We all know what that means. But then you have what you toting. That's WHATYA toting. And then you got what? Toting with CAWHATCA. And then there's several other variations from that thing. Now the what yeah toting I believe was something that my brother in Blades HT came up with. He may not want to take credit for it, and he may take credit. I don't know. Never discussed it with him. All I know is that every time I punch in "what you toting" in the search bar on YouTube, uh, all his videos come up. So he either was in the developmental stage or he started it. I don't know. That's not something that really matters to me. But anyway, I do what you toting's pretty regular. When you have a pretty big collection of knives, it's not hard to I can change every day a little something here and there. And I hadn't done one today, but I feel sure before the day's over, I'll get my creative juices flowing and go in there and pump something out. And I love it because I get to put my music side in there. I had yesterday. I had Johnny Rain. Anyway, I had Dio in there, James Dio, who is a legend on my video, and I like these younger blues guys. Uh, uh, just a diehard Stevie Ray fan, so I like that rock blues kind of stuff. Of course, now I know what that old walking behind the mule in the Delta blues is too. I mean, there's a guy north of here. I can't think of his name anyway, but he's a black gentleman that he's a legend in these parts as far as singing the blues. Every music event around here had him in it because he's a legend. One time I was helping with the stage setup and stuff, and for some reason he just handed me his guitar, and the dang it was like a Gibson 355, but the thing weighed 75 pounds. Uh, I guess he filled it with something uh, for some reason. I don't know, but it was the heaviest guitar had ever. He always sat down and had it on his knee. But boy, he could make same type of guitar that BB King played. It wasn't the same model, but it was the same type. Anyway, all that and a piece of bread is a happy sandwich, as I have been known to say most of my life. Okay, EDC. Well, that in the knife tuber community, that's basically your pocket knife, what you're toting in your pocket. But I have everyday carry that has nothing to do with pocket knives. Of course, these are not everyday carry items, but these are things that are everyday life items. This guy, Mississippi dude, he's always in my life. This thing, it's not always in my pocket, but it's always in my life. Okay? When I was doing tabletop reviews and showing knives and stuff, this is in every video. And it sits right here 24/7. So when I'm sitting here thinking, I keep my clipboards and stuff here, and I do my thinking and researching and all that kind of stuff. So that's is it an everyday carry? No, it's a sub-genre. Milo's sitting right there is everyday life. Okay, he's right here beside me on my walker, 24/7. So I wake up at night at 3 o'clock in the morning and get up to go to the restroom or something. Milo's sitting on my walker. He makes sure that I'm okay and I don't ever lose. He's there for me. Of course, I give him a rough time. Now here's one. I don't carry one, not every day. I've carried this one, and that's the reason it's in the tattered shape that it is. It's a handkerchief gifted to me by Dwayne Clark. Beautiful, beautiful hank. Now, is that part of an EDC? Absolutely. My father, who was a dapper Southern gentleman, always had a handkerchief in his pocket. Every time he had his pants on, it was 3 or 4 things that was in his pocket, and a handkerchief was one of the back left pocket. And some of my earliest memories were we would go to the barbershop every 2 weeks, and he would, get a high and tight, and I'd get my high and tight back in, when I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and that's what I need one right now, and I'll have one next week when y'all get there. If y'all come into the, did I mention that there was going to be a knife show? Make sure I bring that up to y'all, because there is going to be a knife show next weekend. Those of you that know, okay? I mean, just get in there where you fit in there. I didn't put it out there enough for y'all, for my family group here, anyway. But anyway, every time we go to the barbershop or the drugstore or to the grocery store, they used to have these cardboard displays that would be set up somewhere, and it was called Have a Hank. Okay? And they were cheaply made, white, very thin handkerchiefs that the salesman would come in every month, or every time he came by, and he would staple new ones to the board. And but the gentlemen in our area, they would tear one off every time they needed one. I think back then they were 25 cents or 35 cents or something like that. So that's my little story about mechanic. But later on in life, my father once he was always frugal. I probably had to throw away some of those after he passed, because he didn't hardly throw nothing. He's like me; he didn't hardly throw nothing away, and it still has some good value. I mean, I found a pair of his military shoes that had to have been 60 years old whenever he passed. But he would always look at them and say, that thing got some good leather. He would take the tongue out of a shoe and make a slingshot out of it, and was deadly. And boy, he wasn't a hillbilly, but he lived in the hills up there in North Louisiana, a little town called Calhoun, and he was deadly with even later in life, he'd take a V-notch out of a tree and a old inner tube and a piece of leather out of a pair of old shoes, and he was deadly. Yeah, it was amazing. Anyway, EDC, what are we talking about? Well, you know what I'm filming this thing on right here is the EDC. Most of y'all, well, I guess most all y'all have one, but I have a couple of them. It's a cell phone. Okay, it's part of your EDC, your everyday carry. And I have one. I mean, I have this one is the one that's in my drop kit. I keep it charged, keep it in there. So if I ever have to drop and go, I got communication, and it may not be. I might call you on it 5 times before you answer because you don't know the number. But I have some form of communication with me all the time. If something were to happen to the phone that I'm filming on, which is my primary phone, in my EDC bag, my bug out bag, my drop bag, whatever you want to call it, I have a battery, one of those rechargeable batteries that will recharge my cell phone 3 or 4 times. So here's just that's just how I roll, I guess. Here's something for y'all. Look at this. You ever seen these little toothpicks? I normally have one of these in my pocket. EDC. All right, here's one for y'all. New Testament. I always have a Bible somewhere. This is one that I keep in my room on my bed, and I have 3 or 4 verses that are marked, and things where I can go to real quick when I need to calm myself down and get my place in the right mindset. I can go right to this, pick it up, and I'm there. And EDC pocket dump. I do. I from time to time I put these in my my pocket dump, my what you toting, and that's because I'm a smoker. So come on, baby, there you go. But see, but these are also highly collectible. My brother in Canada, Pocket EDC, is a huge collector of Zippos. I believe because he shows them pretty regular, and he's got several of them. So that's because he's the Fox, Brother Todd, the Fox. And since we're talking about cigarettes, I also have this is a refillable plastic cigarette case. There, oh, deep south pops up everywhere, don't it? It's a mechanical. I buy my cigarettes by the carton, and they're loose cartons, and I can refill this up, just like a regular pack of cigarettes, and I always have my cigarettes with me. So, but that's if you're a smoker. If you're not a smoker, that's not going to be relevant to you. But if you, man, gotta have fire. So there's your fire, which we zip by. And I have, I even have something else sitting here. This is old Bronson butane in that clip. Hear that? That's what you get in there where you put in there. Also, I always have a writing utensil. I went to said cigarette store the other day, 2-3 days ago. I got my cigarettes, redid my cigarette, and there was this pen was sitting on the counter, and I made a comment. I said, that's a good look, girl. I know old girl for a minute. I said, that's a good looking ink pen right there. I said, that thing's fancy, and I turned around there, was digging through I got a little purse. I should have brought that in here. I got a little bank bag I call my purse, my man purse. And I was digging through there to get my credit card and my club membership card out of there. And I turned back around and she pulled out one of them little squeezy foam coolers that had the company name that's on here. Had a whole bag full of stuff. There was flashlights and cups and all kind of stuff. And she pulled out a water pen about that big. And I got this one and 2 or 3 more. She said, here, take you, get what you want. And she said one of her customers came in and just gave her all that stuff in that cooler. And so she was blessed. She blessed me back and blessed me. So, that's a great thing. That's something to be thankful for, And then, y'all ever seen one of these? And I had one guy ask me, he said, "Man, why are you toting a Zoom?" Well, it ain't a Zoom, guy. This is a constant glucose monitor, and it tells you at the very second what your glucose reading is. I have a sensor that goes on my arm, and that sensor, most diabetics have to take they got their own little EDC kit. They have to open it up, take out the lances and the alcohol pad and the meter, and they put a strip in there, and they poke their finger, and they put the blood on it, and it tells you what your sugar is. Well, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm blessed to have this particular device. Well, all right, Milo, come on, say hi. Come on, you got to do. Well, I guess that's all y'all gonna get today. Milo, he's an outstanding member of my community, of the Bryan community. I don't know what he's getting into over there, but it's not gonna be fun. I can promise you. Sit down. Sit down. Anyway, but I lost. Okay, so we did the glucose monitor, and the ink pen, and don't forget, while we in that shirt pocket, 3+ years, guys. Okay, $1.69 at Walmart, and I got a drawer full of them. Why? Well, I mean, this one. Imagine how many years that's gonna last. I probably got 5 or 6 in there. Imagine how long. I mean, man, I've dropped this thing from off the top of my car. Being changing oil and drop it and it fall from the. It just for $1.69. Come on, guys. I mean, I figured the light bulb would burn out by now, but it didn't. Let's see what else we got. Okay. This is something I don't like to talk about because I basically I don't try to keep myself out of a situation. But I do carry a small container of bear spray. And here's something that a little flashlight. Got 2 little flashlights there for y'all. But this one's kind of special. Sorry, Milo. You might get on me, but you go get off. And then since we're sitting there talking about it, pocket dump. Mama, y'all, Mike Yarlett over there, Yellow Delrin, or his father, Mike Sr. Well, come on, Jim. Anyway, I have the Saudi that I've been carrying the whole time, but since we're a little pocket dumping, this is just what was at my reach whenever I got ready to come in here and do this filming. Gifted to me by Brother Aaron Williams. Got a little bead on there, a couple snake dots, Roper Pecos, back pocket folded hunter. I call this creamy yellow instead of yellow, but it's good. And then y'all know I'm getting ready for this gun show, and look, I dug out a relic. This is some of y'all gonna know when you see it right off the bat. This is a CRKT M16. Y'all go look that up. Frame lock. I carried this thing for a minute. Back when I owned my salvage yard, I cut everything, including myself, with this one. Okay, just a great little modern flipper knife. All right, guys. I know that this is not a comprehensive video about everyday carry. There are thousands of things that I don't even have never even thought about carrying that some people will carry. Um, I did one thing I saw in my research was when I put EDC pocket dump is all one word. There is trending now for people have these trays. Now I have a spot on my dresser where I do my pocket dump. You know, when I come home at night or get ready to change into some night clothes, I have a spot, and it's just a small section of my top of my dresser that everything goes right there. And the main function for the EDs, these little square, they're like most of them are leather. They're like a serving tray, but it's just a collection area for your EDC. That's a big trending thing right now, and some of them are outrageous. Tooled leather, fine wood with leather. Some of them are just all wood, but I mean, you could turn a serving platter into one if you want to get creative with it. But uh, it's part of that's what the term EDC pocket dump. What some of the finds that came back whenever I did that research. But anyway, I found it to be very interesting. It didn't consume me, but it did get me thinking about what EDC and what pocket dump and what you're toting, what all those terms really mean. Even though I had a pretty good idea, I loosely had an idea. Now it's more defined than it was before. But anyway, happy Saturday. I hope your Sunday is blessed. I hope every one of y'all are blessed. The new look might be a little shocking to some of y'all. Probably most of this will be gone uh, by the time the show gets here. It's very hard to shave with all this up in here, but I like it. This is what happened when an old man stands in front of a mirror with a pair of clippers. Anyway, I love you. Love y'all. Every one of y'all. And remember that old Big Jim, the only thing he knows how to do is tell y'all rule number 9.